Hi, my name is Ryan Postel, co-founder of CodeStitch. In this video, we're going to build this template. So this is an interesting one because we have this gray background around all of these, and then we have overlapping elements, and then we have a secondary stats underneath here that needs to be centered with this. So I thought this would be a fun one to do a video on, just to show the best ways to go about doing something like this. So let's just dive into it. No wasted time here. Um, I'm going to set up the HTML. So I'm gonna set this off over to the side here. We're using CodeStitch. So we have all of the variables taken care of by the core styles that come with every stitch. So we have the topper font size, the header font size, which is this, the section padding, which is the 100 pixels, top and bottom here from desktop, and then we got the styles for the text, the title, etc. So these are all handled already by the CodeStitch variables. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But yeah, these are all empty. Um, I'll start this off like I do with every video. We start with a section tag. So section tags are used when you have a header in them, like an H2, H3, H4. If they do not have a header, you do not need a section tag. You would use a regular old div, like if you had a logo group or something, and that was the entire section, was just like a banner of logos. You use a div, not a section. Section tags are used for each section of a website, and we start each section with an H2. So we have our span.cs topper, and that's going to be about us. And then we have the h2.cs title. That's the name that we have for it, and I'm just going to copy and paste that. So every section needs to start with an H2. You get one H1 per page, and that should be in your hero section. And then we got our P, which is CS text. And I like to do an indent so that the text inside is kind of centered. It just looks better and feels better to me. And then the button, we got the A.cs button solid. We also use the same code for this, but just for learning's sake, I'll show you how to make a button. Pretty easy. We're gonna go learn more. Is that what this says? So we have learned more, but you're not supposed to do that anymore. It's supposed to be like more about us. You got to be descriptive. Learn more and read more is not very accessible anymore, and Google will hit you for that. They know. So that's why we're going to put more about us here. We're going to do a little audible. So when I'm looking at this, here's our content, right? But you see that it's wrapped in a box. So we're going to wrap it in a box, and all of our content already comes in its own CS content. Like in all the templates we have, this stuff lives in its own div anyway. It makes it easier to flex box and arrange things around it. So we want this to live inside of a box, so we can create this white background, have this padding. This is going to be the space. So if you notice this 60 pixels space here, this would be padding. So padding is the space inside of an element. Margin is how you space outside of it. Margins push against things around it. Padding pushes against things on the inside. So we use padding to create this stuff. So we're going to have the CS content with a background of white and a padding clamp from mobile to desktop, from whatever to 60 pixels. And then we have this stats group, and then we have this image here. So right away, I know this is going to be an image group, so we're going to have a div that I'm going to call CS image group, and it's going to have this button in here for the video, and then it's going to have a picture tag with the source tags for the image. So that's going to be that group, and looks like they have to overlap. But if we look at this, so these stats, it looks like it has to be the same width as the content, and we want it to be centered. So to better position this, it needs to be grouped with it. And that's where we have to use a wrapper div. So I'm going to copy and paste this, CS wrapper. So now we have a wrapper div around the content. So the content is a child of the CS wrapper. Now inside of this, we're going to add a, I'm going to make it a ul.cs card group. Well, it's not so much a card, it's more of a stat. Yeah, CS stats. CS stat group. And then we're going to do a list item of that CS stat. And inside of that stat, we have a span of CS number and a span of CS, I'm going to call it this desk, which is short for description. So in here we got plus, and that plus is orange. And it looks like it's regular text. So what we're going to do is we're also going to wrap a span.cs color, and we're going to do a plus. So we can target that span specifically, plus 500K, and then happy users. And we're going to copy and paste that. That's going to be 1.4K and completed projects. And I got to fix that happy users. Completed projects, happy users. I keep doing that. HAPPY. There you go. Yeah, the HTML is going to be the most boring part of this right now. So just this, I mean, I'm just recording my process here. This is how we do it. This is the annoying stuff that we got to deal with, the boring stuff. So we got the list here, and now we have two children of the CS wrapper, so that we can use a flex box on this wrapper, so that we can use flex direction column to put it in a up and down orientation. And then we can do align items center, so that this is always centered. And we use align items because when you're in a vertical flex box using the column property, align items is how you center things left and right. And then justify content center is how you center things up and down. And it flip-flops when you use flex direction row. Justify content is how you center things left and right. And then align items is how you center things up and down. That's just the biggest confusing quirk of Flexbox, but once you just sit down and memorize it, it's not as bad. So we have that, the CS wrapper that we're going to be flexboxing. Now we have the CS image group. So .cs image group. So we have an image group because I want to create a button, and I want it to also arrange itself within this arrangement here. Like if we just use the picture element, you can't put another thing inside the picture element. So we have to have this button floating around on top of the image. So we got to create a wrapper div around it that I call an image group. And then we're going to have the a.cs. We're going to call it CS video link, because that is what it is. And we got, looks like I just got to save, I got to save this image and save this triangle and upload it to our CDN to add to here. So I'm going to do that real quick. It's going to happen in an instant, but it'll happen for a few minutes for me. So I'm just going to do a quick little cut. Okay, so I added the image tag here, got the source. So we're going to add icon for the alt. Width is 16, height 16, and we're going to be loading, it's lazy, and then decoding equals async. Just add this to all of your images. This just helps it load faster. And then we're going to add a class of CS icon. And then we have the watch video. So underneath that, we're going to have watch video. And I want this box around it. So this is the CS video link. And then this has to be a box. We have just an image tag, but you can't make a box. You can't use pseudo elements on image tags. You can't add a background image and do padding. It's not going to work. So what we have to do is I have to copy this and do a picture wrapper. So picture dot CS icon wrapper. So a picture element is a more semantic element to use as a wrapper for an image. It essentially says that this is you're looking at an image or a picture here. So if I have an image tag that needs a wrapper, I usually just use a picture tag. And this will be what we make 56 pixels by 56 pixels wide, border radius 50%, background, whatever this black is, and a flexbox to center this icon inside of it. So that's how that's going to work. And now I'm going to grab the picture, find picture element. I just reuse this over and over again. There you go. This is in the CS background. And so we have options for mobile and options for tablet. So I'm just going to grab this link. In CodeStitch, we just use the same image because what's the point? You're going to change it anyway. And it saves on storage and server space for us. So we use the same one. And this is going to be a fancy architecture, fancy staircase. Fancy staircase. Around a pointed triangular structure. There we go. So the picture element, what this does is it says, okay, up until 600 pixels, load this version, this image, and after 601 pixels, load this bigger version, and then this is the fallback. So that way you can load a smaller image on mobile and a larger image for desktop. This helps your mobile load a lot faster because you're not loading a gigantic desktop image. And what I usually do is I set the height and width on the picture element, and then I use object fit cover to make the image itself, cover the background of whatever this is. So if I make the picture element 100 pixels by 100 pixels wide, that's what it's going to be. And I set object fit cover to the image, and it will resize itself with maintaining its aspect ratio to cover its parent, and it will be centered inside of it. And I'll show you how that works in CSS. But so this is about everything. So we have our image group, which is going to be what we flexbox to the left here. We have our CS wrapper div, which has both of these contained in it with our CS content and our UL, our stat group here. So now all we got to do is build it. So we got, this is the padding, the 60 on top and bottom. That's already taken care of by the variable. So if I go here, SBS, let's start from the top. Padding, it's going to be the section padding. And then I always put position relative z index 1 just in case I need to absolutely position anything. So let's start from the outside going in. So from the outside, we have our padding set up. That's going to be this variable to create this space, this white space around it. And now we go to our container class, which is this. So I like to have a container class in all of my sections, even if you don't need it, because it's going to be very handy if you end up needing it. We have the section tag as the outermost parent element for a section, and then every section has its own container class that we can use to help manipulate it and do things that we need. And inside of there is where we have our children. So I am going to be targeting the CS container right now. So .cs container. And what I want is, I want 16 pixels all around on mobile. And then it looks like we want 80 pixels all around at desktop. So we're going to use a clamp for that. So we're going to do padding and a clamp. So we're going to start at 60, which is 3.75 rem. I just know that. And going to 80, let's try 7 view with units, and then 80 is 5 rem. And as always, this is 60 pixels to 80 pixels. Or I'm sorry, 16 to 80. I always put these above our clamps so that people that aren't really REM friendly, they can know immediately what's happening here. And this is the where we start. This is the scale or growth factor, and then this is where we end. So it will grow at 7 times the view width unit, and if that value is greater than 16 pixels, then it will start growing with it. If it's less than, then it will stay 16 pixels up until it reaches that threshold of 16.001 or whatever. Then it will start growing up until 5 rem proportionally, and then it will stop at 5 rem. So we got that clamp set up, and I need to put width 100%, and then margin auto. So this will be 100% width of its parent, which is the section tag. So I'll always try to be 100% the width of the parent. And then we have a margin auto and then a max width of 1800 pixels. So that's where it wants to stop. 1800 divided by 16 rem. If you're also not familiar, we use less when we're building stitches, but all of our stitches have less, vanilla CSS, and Sass options. I work with less where I can do this and it will spit out the conversions for me. So that's what you're seeing here. Don't try this at home in your vanilla CSS. It will break and it will cry. So this is where we want it to stop. So it's going to be 100% the width of the parent, but it will stop at 1800 pixels. And then margin auto will keep it centered inside of the parent section tag. So as this section tag gets wider on the screen, this will always be 1800 pixels wide and always be centered. So that's why we have that set up the way it is. And we have a flexbox here. So I want the CS wrapper to be on top of the CS image group on mobile, but I want you guys to be horizontal on tablets. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a flexbox. Display flex direction column, and we're just gonna I think that's all we need because it looks like they're just touching. So we got no gap. Sorry to take a deep breath there. A lot of talking is happening right now. So we got our flexbox set column, and now we're gonna set this up. I want to get we're going in. So if we're gonna go in, let's start from, we already got the container set up, and this is going to be a background color. Margin, after padding comes color, background, color. It's going to be that color, so that's what it will be. Let's get this image group set up. Got CS image group, because that's the next thing. So once I started working in, I like to work from the top. So we started the section, the container, and now we are at the first element that we're dealing with here. This is going to be the CS image group, and I'm going to set it to width 100%. We're going to do oh, I forgot padding, box sizing, border box. That way we don't have any weird overflow issues with the padding because the browser is considering it as part of the width and height. And if you have too much content inside of it, it's going to cause the container to overflow the screen, and you're going to be pulling your hair out trying to figure out why is this doing it. It's because it thinks padding is part of the height and width. So that's why we have to add box sizing border box. And it's just good practice. Like all of our sites and template core styles code has an override that is set to like all elements have box sizing border box on it. So it just does it by default. But we still put it in here anyway, just in case people aren't using our starter kits and they're rolling their own and they don't know to do this. So we just have them part of it as a failsafe anyway, just to make sure our stuff always works no matter where it goes. So what I want to do with this, because we're going to have, what's going to happen is this is going to be position relative z index 1, because we're going to absolutely position the picture element inside of it. And if you're going to absolutely position something, its parent needs to have position relative on it. and have a z index of 1. So what happens? So the fun thing about position absolute is it it is looking for the nearest parent with a defined position on it. If it does not have a defined position on it, then it goes to the next parent and it asks, "Are you my mommy?" And then if that one doesn't have a position on it, then it goes to the next one and it says, are you my mommy?" And the next one is like, "Yeah, I got one. I'm your mommy now." And it will position itself relative to that parent, that div. So right now the parent is the CS image group. That's what this is. If we tried to absolutely position an image, the picture tag inside of this to say, be top 0, left 0, width 100%, height 100%, right? But if we didn't have position relative and instead we had position relative on the container, it would look to the CS image group. It's like, okay, are you my mommy? No, I don't have position relative. And it would look to the CS container, which is this guy. And if it has position relative on it, like it does now, then it will like, "Oh, okay, cool. You must be my mommy." And it will be top 0, left 0, height 100% of the container, width 100% of the container. So that's how absolute positioning works. It's looking for its parent to position itself with. It's looking for a home. It's a little orphan looking for a parent, and if it does not have a defined household, it will not go there. So that is the simplest way I can explain position absolute and relative and how to use them together. So like if you wanted it to be like, you can also use it as a tool, like where maybe you want something absolutely positioned relative to a certain parent, like the CS image group. But on desktop, you want it to be absolutely positioned with the next parent. So on desktop, you would just set this position relative to initial. So its initial position is none. It's nothing. It doesn't have one. So then it will make itself relative. It would be absolutely positioned relative to the next parent, which is the CS container. So I can use that positioning technique to allow an absolutely positioned element to position itself with multiple parents, moving to different households, because we're removing the position relative from one. So it will leave this group. And then if this has position relative on it, it will just move in here and use its four walls, its house as its home to position itself with. And that's the nutshell for how this works, but we don't need this on here. Pop that off. We have the image group, position relative. Now I want the CS picture.cs picture. So what we're going to do here is you're going to be width 100%, height 100%, and we're going to do display block because picture elements are display inline by nature. So if we want it to obey a width and height percentage, we have to have display block. Otherwise, it doesn't listen to height, width, margin, nothing. So display block. And then it's going to be position absolute, top 0, left 0, and then I'll just do object fit cover, make it cover its parent, which is the CS image group. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to make its image do the exact same thing. So inside of this image, the picture element is going to be whatever height and width the CS image group is. And the image inside of CS picture, which is this. We're going to do, yeah, this is background. I'm just going to do picture, whatever. It makes more sense. It's not a background, it's a picture. So this image inside of it is going to be 100% height and width of whatever this is, and object fit cover will make it stretch to fit proportionally, perfectly centered inside of it. So we set that up to work that way. Now we have the CS video link. And we have a pretty simple flexbox here. So this guy is, let's see what we got here. We got 16, 16, 16, and then 32 on this side. And then is that is that the same here? 16, 16, 16, 32. So it looks like it goes from 32 to 40 desktop. So I think that's all we got to worry about. So CS video link. This is going to be, where do I want to start? I'm going to do a background color. And that's going to be this. And I'm going to say text decoration none, because all A tags have a text decoration of underline by default, so we're going to override that. Then I want to do a flexbox display flex, and that's going to be, I'm just going to say justify content center, align items center. So I want you to be centered left and right and centered up and down. And our gap here, if I hold Alt on the keyboard and I go to the next element, it will tell me how far away it is from that element. So that is 16 pixels away. So we're going to do gap 16 pixels. And then our padding is going to be 16 all around except for the padding right. So padding goes above that. Padding is 16 divided by 16 rem. That's top. The right is going to be clamp. It's 2 rem. We're going to go by 4 view with units and 2.5 rem. 32 pixels to 40 pixels. All right, and then this is going to be right, and then this is going to be fixed, number 1. We're going to take that, up, and that's bottom, and then I'm going to do another one for safety for left. So we got our padding set up, and now we got to get our font. So our font size is 16, and I don't think that's going to change on desktop. Line height is going to be 1.2 m. When we see 120%, in m's, that's 1.2. So think of 100% as 1 m. And then 120% is 1.2 m, because 0.2 is, by decimal values, 20%. So that's why we do that. And then the font weight is 700. And I think the color, we gotta add color. That's going to be var header color. Var header color. I'm going to save that. And this is going to be absolutely positioned. So this is position absolute. This is going to be on the left, 0, bottom, 0. So this will be at the left edge of the CS image group and at the bottom of it. And now that we have that, I need to tell the image group how high to be. So in a situation like this, like I don't normally like adding fixed heights because that's bad for responsiveness. But in this case, there is no content inside of this. It's more of a decorative element. And the only thing inside of here is a video button, which is not going to be growing anytime. And you're not going to be adding more stuff to this video. So right now we have a height of 326. So I think I can just, I'm just going to do height. So if a height 100 view width is going to be 360. Let me look at my phone really quick here. So 326 divided by 360. That's 90. So we're going to say height 90 view width. And then I'm going to give it a max height just to stop at, like, let's say 450 pixels. And let's just see what that looks like, because I don't want it to be this height always. I want it to grow with it and not be like really long and weird. So we'll just see what that looks like. I think 450 is a good height. And again, this is me being approximate. Pixel perfect websites do not happen at every stage. So my goal is to make it basically pixel perfect at 360 pixels wide, as close as I can get essentially. And then in between, it's okay if you're a little off because that's going to happen. You're not going to get it perfect everywhere. So just do your base, even if you're like plus or minus 10% for values for like positioning or where things are, it's okay. As long as desktop is perfect because you literally have all of the measurements on how far things are away from each other. So you should ideally, realistically, be able to do pixel perfect once you get here because it literally tells you where to be. But in between, not so much. It's okay. Don't fret about it. So, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm not fretting about it. I am setting this to approximately 326 pixels wide, tall, I should say. And I'm gonna let it grow, let it get a little taller, a little wider, and that's fine. So now we get to the CS content. So I like to put the content above the container or above the image group and below the container because I am looking to this to change stuff more than I'm looking to this. So I'm going to put this here, CS content. So I'm going to first, let's see, we got our CS topper that's taken care of by the base, the core styles, CS text, CS title, that's all taken care of. So content, we're going to start off with our padding. So our padding here is 16 left and right, 24 top and bottom, and then that goes to 60, I think 60 all around. So we're going to start here. We're going to get 16 and 24. So padding, top and bottom is a clamp of 1 point, what is it, 24 1.5 rem. Goes to 60, so I want to say 7 view width, and then 60 3.75 rem. Left and right is clamp, 1 rem. I'm going to do 7 again, and then 3.75 rem. So I'm going to leave my little note here to say 24 pixels to 60 pixels, top and bottom. And then, whoops, 16 pixels to 60 pixels, left and right. Just nice documentation there. So we have that. I'm going to do a display flex. Whoops. Flex direction column. And we're going to align items, flex start. The text align, I like to do text stuff at the top. Text align is left, so it's going to tell everything in here. Text align left, you guys. And then I'm going to .cs title, .cs text. Just going to do text align inherit just to make sure that they are always inheriting the text align of its parent. And that's what I like to do. I don't like to use individual text aligns. If I can, if they're all aligned the same way, let's save those extra lines of codes. Let's just put it once on the parent and let the children obey the parent. So the parent is telling them text align left, you kids. I don't want to see any centers or rights over here, not my house. So this is what it's saying essentially. And then the margins, the paddings, the margins, the colors, this is all done by our core styles, just general font sizes and stuff with a clamp. Now, what I like to do when I'm thinking about how people use our stitches, sometimes it's not going to be one paragraph. And I don't want 32 pixels between paragraphs between buttons. That's bad design. You don't have the same space from a separate text element. So like these are grouped together. These are text elements. They are related. So this has a gap of 16 pixels. So by design law, your paragraphs should have 16 pixels between them as well. But a button is not a text it's not a text thing. It's a button. It does something. It's a completely separate element now. So when you want to visually separate two completely different elements in a design, you double the space between the related elements. So that separates them visually with a cue like, okay, this is definitely different. This is set aside, and these guys are related to each other. So they're going to be their same consistent spacing between them. Now we're in a different part of this content section. This is completely different. We're going to double it up, 32 pixels. That's why we do it. So how we do that is we do CS text. So on every CS text element that we have, every paragraph, I want to have a margin bottom of 16 pixels so that there's always that gap between them. But the last p tag in this group is the one that is going to be separating it between the buttons. So I want to do and the last of type. So I want to say at the last CS text, I want your margin bottom to be 32 divided by 16 rem. So, and once we get to the HTML, I'll show you how all that looks, and we'll play with it. But I'm just going to rip through getting the CSS done here, and then seeing how close we got it when we get in there. So that should be done now. And the button text, so we're going to do right here, CS button solid. Let's make a button. So it's going to be font size 16 pixels. We're going to do a line height of 46 pixels to 56 is what they usually are. So 46 divided by 16 is 2.875. We're going to do a little clamp. That is 2.875 rem. And let's say 6 view width. Let's see if that's enough. 56 divided by 16, 3.5. All right. And our comment, 40 pixels to 56 pixels. Done. We got font weight, 700. Text decoration, none, because it's a link, it's a button. And we got padding, 32 pixels left and right. So I'm going to do padding, 32 divided by 16, left and right. So that means 0 top and bottom. That way, if the text gets wider, like if there's more text here, this padding keeps this space there. You don't do fixed widths for buttons. Just don't do it. You're better than that. And then we're gonna do color. It's gonna be the var body text color white. That's the variable we have for it. Background color, the var primary, text align, center, we're going to center that guy. And then of course we got to do display inline block. And position relative, it's the index 1. So I like to do with buttons when I do little hover states. If you want to have like a rectangle come in from the left and fill it in, all that is it's a pseudo element that is width 100%, width 0, height 100%, position absolute, the index -1, background color black or whatever, and then you on hover you set its width to 100% and then add the transition on the before element for its width so that it transitions its width from 0% to 100%, and that's how you get that animation. So why don't we just do that? So I'll grab that. Where's my code for? Here, there we go. Here's my code that I use. I have a cheat sheet that you can just copy and paste stuff really easily. So this is going to be 0, whoopsies, 1, 2, 3. We're going to do z index of -1 so that it goes behind the text. We're going to do width of 0, and then transitions. I always put this at the bottom. Transition with 0.3 seconds. And then when we hover, I want and before. This is less syntax, the and. I want your width to be 100%. Now we have our hover state. So I'm going to save that. And then we go to our stats group. So underneath the button, .cs stat group. And what I want to do So we have 48 pixels gap here, and this is 48 pixels, and this is 64. So it goes from 48 to 64 pixels. So I think what we have to do is that CS wrapper. So we got to do display flex direction column. So that's up and down. And then the gap of clamp 3 rem, which is 48 pixels. Let's do 8 view with units and 4 rem, which is 64. And be nice people and say 48 pixels to 64 pixels. So that's the gap between them. And see, it looks like it's pushed to the side over here. And then it looks like it's pushed to the left over here. So let's use Flexbox to do that. Or I'm going to use grid. I'm going to use grid on the stats group. So let's reset the padding to 0 because all list items, it's going to close this. All ULs, all lists have a padding, and I think they have a margin. We're just going to reset them to 0, and I'm going to do display grid template columns. I think we're only ever really going to need 2. So I'm just going to say grid template columns repeat for 1 fractional. And then the gap between these, I mean, it's like 16 pixels. It looks like that's what's happening here. Their gaps are 16, 16. So let's say gap. Gap is 16 between them. Okay. And now inside of this, got CS stat. Right, open this up, make sure we're looking at everything right. CS stat. What I want to do, so we have this content in here, and it looks like they're stacked on top of each other with a gap of 4 pixels. I don't like to use margins like this. Excuse me. Stuff come up there. There we go. Okay, finish this up. Here we go. Okay, 4. Sorry. Yeah, I'm keeping everything in this video. There's not a lot of cuts here, so I'm just gonna roll. 4 pixels between this and that. A lot of people would just use a margin, but I don't like using margins for that. If I can use a gap property, I'm gonna use it. So display flex direction column gap 4 divided by 16 rem. So that's going to take care of that. And I want you guys to align to the left. So this is a column up and down. So if I want it to align to the left horizontally, we use align items, flex, start at the start of the flex box. Start is left or top. End is to the right or bottom. So that's what those are essentially. And now we got CS number. So this is 31 pixels to 49. So font size, whatever that weird number is, 31 divided by 16 is 1.9375 rem. And I'm going to give you 7 view width units to 49. 49 divided by 16 rem. 2.875 rem. Let's not forget that clamp. Clamp. 31 pixels to 49 pixels. Done. And you are a font weight of 700. All headers have a line height of 1.2 m. Your margin is going to be 0. Reset that margin in case anything is trying to give it a margin. And then we are color. And that's going to be header color. Right? And then we got the span. So we got CS number. Your color is going to be var primary. CS color. Oh, I did number again. CS color. That's going to be you, and I'm assuming, yeah, you're also the same font size. Now, .cs description. Your font size ends at 20, starts at 16. Font size, clampy clamp, 1 rem. We're going to do 2.5 view width, 1.25 rem, 16 pixels to 20 pixels. There we go. And that's going to be line height of 1.5 m. Margin 0, just to set that up. Color var. Body text color, not white. Font, line height, margin, color. Is that really all I need? No. Text align. Inherit. Do the same thing for you. And then the stat is going to be text align left. We're sending it to the left. So we got that set up, got the grid. I think we got enough here to be to see what I want to see what we, well, no, I didn't do this, did I? So CS link, video link. There we go. Yeah, I knew I forgot something. So video link CS. What are you? I'm pretty sure it's icon wrapper. Come back to me. Yes. Okay. CS icon wrapper. You start off as 46 to 56, so just like the line height of the button. So I'm just going to copy that. I don't have to do it. That's the height. And the width are growing at the same rate. Background color. That is going to be var header color. It's the same color as the headers. So we're just going to use it. Border radius, 50% to make it a circle. And then display flex. Justify content center. Align items. Whoopsies. Align items center. And then the icon itself. .cs icon is going to be a width of 16 pixels. Sweet 16. All right, width 16. And then we're going to do a height of auto, because if I or anybody else adds a different icon here, maybe it's 19 pixels tall, it will be squished vertically, because it's automatically fitting itself to be 16 wide and 16 tall. But if we leave height as auto, whatever we substitute for that icon, it will always be a width of 16 pixels, but its height will be automatic. And that's based on its aspect ratio. Like if you resize it to 16 pixels, how tall is it? Maybe it's 20, maybe it's 19. That's what it's going to be. So we just leave it alone for maximum responsiveness. In case you ever have to swap this thing out, you don't have to change anything. It's just going to behave normally. And then we also add display block, because image tags are inline elements by default. So we have to say display block so that it will listen and obey to a width and height value. So we have that. And that should be good. So if I save here, and if everything looks good, I gotta remove you. If everything looks good on mobile, we should not look like that. So container styles, what am I doing here? Padding, clamp. Oh, I put 375. Yep, that's it. It should be 16 Ryan, 1 rem, and that looks like it's growing too fast. So 4, 3. Oh, that's right. Because the padding is on the inside of there. 5. I'm gonna do 4. I think we should be good there. That's 16. Yep. The content, I forgot to add the background. There we go. Close. And then I forgot to do the order. Ryan. All right. Image group. So we're in a Flexbox, but the uh, the image group is at the bottom. And I like to put these things at the bottom because when you're working on your sites, the most common things you're going to be working on is the content. So I like to put the content at the top. The image group is at the bottom. So we need you at the top. So order -1. So we're going to put you at the top. And that's what order does. Back to it. There we go. So if I move this down, if we zoom out a little bit, we pretty much got there. We just, this is not, oh, that's right. I got to do the, forgot to do the column span. So item, the stat, grid column. So we have 4 columns. I want it to be half and half. So span 2 of them. There we go. And now they are span. So you see the 4 columns and see the stat. The stat is filling 2 of them. That's what we're doing. Grid column, span 2. Nice and easy. And that way, if we add more, let's say we wanted to add a few more, they behave nicely. And that's what we want. So yeah, we essentially knocked it out. We did the mobile. We took care of it. This is 324 pixels tall. Close enough. We are going for 326. That's fine. Now, let's see what happens when we make it bigger. And you see how it's growing taller with the view width unit, and it's eventually going to stop at that 450 mark. That's why I did it, so that it looks and stays proportional as the screen gets bigger. But at some point, I don't want it to be so big that it is just visually dominant and taking up the entire screen. It's a waste of space. So I stopped it at 450. And then, because you see, once you start getting into tablet size right here, like it's fine. It's not bad. So we got that. And I think this looks good. And I'm going to show you the paragraph thing that I was talking about. So if we have another paragraph here, p.cs text, and I'm going to say, Lorem, 30 words. Give me 30 words. When I save, see that? That's 16 pixels for every paragraph text. But the last one, nth of type, the last of type, has a margin bottom of 2 rem. And that's how we do that without having to add too many styles. And I can do this infinitely. So if I add multiple paragraphs, all of them have 16 pixels between them, but the last one will always have 32, which separates it visually from the next unique element. That's why we do it. So I'm going to remove these guys because that's not what's in our design. So let's go ahead and jump this to 768. Zoom out. Now, this is what we have. And this is the design. So sometimes I can make an audible, like if I think it looks weird, I don't think this looks too bad with this. But the thing is, if you add a lot of text here, this image is going to get really tall. But this does look more interesting as an arrangement for tablet than this. But this is easier. So do I want to keep this? That is the question. Yeah, don't mind me just thinking about how I want to do this. I think I'm just going to do it as is in the design. I'm going to keep that going. So what's happening here is I want this to be right aligned. I'm gonna try and plan this out. So let's first start with the outer. The outer is we want this to go horizontal. So let's go to our tablet. Flex direction is now row. So when we do that, now we have them side by side here. But we have this max height and height on the .cs image group. So now we have to do height. And here's what I like to do. We're going to do height of auto, max height 100%, so that we can undo that max height 450. And if I do this, it should stretch. So what's happening here is on a Flexbox container, the default align items is stretch. So if you don't have a set height and you set it to auto, that element will stretch to fill the Flexbox parent. And I'm using this to my advantage because in case this height ever changes, let's say we add another paragraph. I want this to grow with it so that it's responsive to the elements around it. Because I don't want this to just be a fixed height, and then when this grows, this stays, and it doesn't look like the design. So by allowing our elements to stretch their height in their Flexbox, we can be much more responsive to the content around it. So let's go ahead and remove this. So you see we're almost there. So I want my CS wrapper. Your align items are going to be flex end. So I want you to go to the right. So like you see this is the CS wrapper. This is the content, but the CS stat group is floating to the right here. So we got that set up now, and now we got to do the overlap. So there's two ways to go about this. So number one, let's get this straightened out. So you see how we have this gap between the top of this image group here and the top and bottom of this. So this is our CS wrapper, this is our CS image group, and this is our CS container. If I hold Alt, this is 44 pixels top and bottom, and then on desktop it is about 127. So I'm going to say 130. So we are going from roughly 44 to 130. So what I'm going to do, we need to create that space. So if you look here, this is the container. We need to create that space from the top of the CS wrapper and the top of this. So we do that by adding on the CS wrapper padding of clamp. It's what's 44? 44 divided by 16, 2.75 rem, and it's going to 130. So let's just say 10 view width units. 130 divided by 16 is 8.125 rem. And spell that out, 46 to 130 pixels. So that's padding top and bottom. And then we're going to do left and right, 0. And what should happen is we have space now. So you see how I'm using padding now to create space. I don't need to use margin because I want to push from the inside. So I'm pushing from the inside on the CS content to create this space. And now I'm using padding on the CS wrapper to push itself away from the top of the container so that we have this gap here. And this looks like it's much more than 40. Let's see what the computed value is. It's 97. This is crazy. So we're going to do 6. That's 58. Let's go to 768, which is our tablet, and we're at 4608. Perfect. That's where you want to be. Let's zoom out. But that's how I did it. And notice it's equidistant, top and bottom. This is pushing equally down here as is up here. So now we have this setup. That's how we do it. That's why I wanted to wrap this whole thing in a wrapper div so that we can not only arrange the stats and the content with each other, but also so we can uniformly push up and down against the container parent to create this space. So this is going to be height 100%. This is also height 100%, but it's being pushed by about 44 pixels top and bottom from its own padding. So now if I add another paragraph to this, you see that it's still maintaining that space top and bottom, top and bottom. That's how we do it. So let's go ahead and remove that. And that's how you have to think about the HTML and the CSS and how things are working together. It's not enough to just memorize these values like, okay, padding, easy. Flexbox, easy. How do you use them together to get what you want? And that's what I did here. I know I want these to be side by side. I want these to stretch and fill the parent, however tall they are, and I need to create this space. So I'm using padding to create space, using flexbox to do the stretching, making other little flex boxes to push and arrange things to the left or right or wherever I need. So just understanding how to use these properties together to get the desired result. Like that's the hard part of CSS. The easy part is memorizing all of the simple syntax, all the little styles that you can add. But how to use them, that's what takes practice. So now what we want to do is I need to get this to overlap this. And I have a few ways that I would do this. So, I'm sorry, I'm yawning. I always film these late at night, at like midnight. Nobody bothers me. like everyone's sleeping, the kids are asleep, so this is just easier for me. So I can either make this absolutely positioned, but it would make it harder to keep it from overlapping this or being overlapped. And I think I'll just make the CS wrapper. What ends up happening a lot, I'm going to use a negative margin on the wrapper and see if I can get that to do what I want. So pad margin left. We're going to do, how much is that? Can I get your, how far away are you? Okay, so it's not telling me. So here's what I do. When you're having trouble finding out the width or distance, something is away, but you can't quite figure it out, you get your square, let me see, square tool, and then I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to put a little square in here. I'll come back here. I'm going to absolutely position you. There we go. Now, this is, I'm going to put this right here on the edge. There's that. I'm going to move it over. So this is 61 pixels to the left. I'm just going to say 60 and even 60. So that's how I find out space when I can't find out space. So that margin left value overlaps it by negative 60 divided by 16 rem. And let's just see what happens. Okay, so we have overlap. So now we have a z-index issue. So in order to access z-index, I have to add a position relative. Now that there's a position attached to the wrapper, I can do z-index of 2. And that will put it on top of the CS picture or the CS image group. So now we have that. Excellent. Everything is going according to plan. So the container is still fine. This is just overlapping. Now we got to fix this. So I want to, well, first I got to make sure what's our dealio? Is this also 60 pixels? Well, let's find out. Absolutely position. Move you over there. Yeah, about the same thing. So we're going to keep that. So it's about 60 pixel override. And you notice we got a little space here. So I think what I'm going to do, 350 pixels wide is what we want here. Mm, 702. This is interesting. So they're not, I mean, it visually looks like they're centered. But technically, they're actually just a grid with left align items. So if I do, I'm going to go to the mobile media query on the stat group. And we're just going to say width 100%, max width 704. So 702. That's just do that. So what I'm doing here, I'm setting this up on mobile. So on mobile, the max width is going to be 702. That's already on there. I try to add as many values and styles as I can in mobile and only use changing values for tablet and desktop. So it's already with 100% max width. So this is going to changes on tablet. So we're going to change our width on tablet. And what I'm going to do instead, CS wrapper, CS image group, you are below the wrapper, CS stat group. What I want is for you to be with, let's say 80%. It's about 320, which is interesting because it's like, yeah, this is 350. So, oh, that's right. I have to make this wider. So I have to make this wider. 448 is how wide we got to be. We are not 448. We are a little bit there. So CS wrapper. %60. So I'm going to do a width of 60%, but it's being pushed around in the flexbox. So we're going to set flex to none. And what flex none basically does is it says, hey, I ain't going to be pushed around in this flexbox. All right. I'm going to do my own thing. Y'all work around me. And that's what it's saying. It's like, okay, I'm going to be 60% the width of this container, whether you like it or not. And you can't do nothing about it. So that's what flex none does. So now the CS image group is the one that has to flex. It's got to stand down. It's like, whoa, buddy. All right. Hey, put the gun down. And that's essentially what's happening here. So I'm going to set this to 65. Let's see what that does. Is that 448? Nope. 67. 451. And where did we want to be? 448. That's fine by me. So now we have that. This is about 361. Again, close enough. It's 350 in the tablet. We're at 360. We're good. We're fine. This is 451.95 instead of 448. 4 pixel difference. We're good. But we have what we want. We recreated what we want, and that's what we have here. So now, if I gotta set a max width on this guy then. So how wide do you need to be? You stop growing at 890 pixels wide. So we're gonna go to mobile. Where's my CS wrapper? CS wrapper, what are you doing down here? You actually wrap the content. So you go on top of the content. So flex wrapper. So we're going to do width 100%. And then we're going to do max width of 890. And then the width changes at tablet. There we go. And that's how we do responsive design. We don't set fixed width values. We set percentages, and then we add max widths for them to stop at. So there'll be whatever percentage width or height of their parent, and they will just keep growing at that rate and then stop. So I'm just checking this out now. If I want to say this is fine now. I think we're done. So if I look at this and I pull it out, we're gonna zoom. We're gonna zoom. This is all gonna grow, 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 grow. The only thing here is it looks like you're a problem. So if I set what's your dealio? So let's find out. Let's look at the image group. Let's see what's happening to it. Styles. So it has height auto, max height was already reset. Width is 100% of the container. So I want to know why you are not growing with it. Is it the picture element? No. Is it the image? No. So let's try CS image group with, let's try 150%. It still does nothing. We're here, we're here. So this is the container. Let's find out. So we have CS wrapper. It's still being it's still got its 60. So let me see if I got this right or wrong. What happens if I turn off the margin left? For some reason, once we get about here, here's a fun one. Here's a fun problem. Once we get about here, it's not. Let's see if I add justify content. Whoops. Justify content. Let's start. Let's see if that does anything. That does not do anything. So I want you to keep going. Is it the padding that's throwing it off? Do I need to do more? Because the padding is growing. Well, the padding is still, what's the computed value? It's 60, so it's 60. It's pulling left 60. But for some reason, I wonder if I put a flex none. So this is how we use the inspector to just do things. Like you can click on the group. You can just quickly do it without having to undo anything in here in your code. You can just mess around with it here. So if I do a flex none, okay, so that's causing problems. So let's do width of 60 pixels. So it's also pushing against. So if I add flex none there, it also pushes. So what if I take off, what if I take off the flex on here That's already working better. So if I take the flex off on the content on the content, it still can work. Okay, so let's go to here. Let's remove the flex. The image group is going to be width of say 60%, and it's going to have a flex none on it. Let's remove that. Let's go down to like 56. Because I want this to be 440 pixels wide. Let's try 50. What's your computed width? We're at 319 plus 120 plus 120, 440. Yeah, about 440. Okay. Okay, close enough. I'll take that. So let's see what happens when we do this. Keep going, keep going. Dang. See, that's the problem because it's 50% of the container. I want 50% of the view width so that it keeps growing. Right. But I think I have to set a max width of 810. Let's try this. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, there's the 810. Okay. This wrapper is 890. And that's 890. So this is a fun little problem. Now, all we gotta do is figure out why you're misbehaving. It's 810, just what we want. And then this is the wrapper, and it's overlapping, just like we want. So I wonder if the problem isn't a margin. If it's a, let's see if it's a transform. Let's see, we transform, translate x, negative 3.75. So transform works, but the thing is it creates this extra space over here because it's transforming from its spot. So that solves one problem, but it creates another one because it creates this gap here. So let's see if this works. Position relative, right, 0. Not on the image group. On the wrapper. Yeah, that didn't work. I just thought it might. Worth trying. I don't want to I really don't want to absolutely position this behind it. I don't want to do it. It's the only other way. So maybe if the transform, I can try this. Let's see. Let's not even try a width. Well, let's try left. How do I want to do it? I can try it. Let's try putting it on here. So if I move that over, then we have this gap over here. So if I want to fix that, because I'm transforming it. This is fun stuff right here. Fun stuff. Because I want it to be relatively positioned as much as I can, just to make this work out really nicely, so that this is always perfectly 60 pixels online. Honestly, let's see. So maybe I just have to do something a little different. Maybe I just gotta suck it up and add another media query. Because we have this working here. Working. And then once we get to about there, it's not working. And maybe it's the containers problem. No, 1776. This is 1800. We got our 80 left and right. Is that our problem? 80 up and down. What do we got here? 72. This should already be hitting 80. Let's add another 4.5. So we got our 80 there. So that's box siding, border box. That's got our border box. Pushing on the inside. This is our content at 820. Maybe it's our content. I think it's our content because the content is 820. Do I have box sizing border box? I didn't have a box sizing on here, so we got. I want to do width 100%. There it is. The content wasn't filling. So I need to, because I noticed that the wrapper was 800, is supposed to be 890 wide, or whatever it is. How wide is it supposed to be? 890. It's supposed to be 890. But when I saw that, and then the content itself was 820, it wasn't matching. That was it, because it was stopping there, because there's max widths on the title and the text in the core styles. So they're stopping at a certain width of like 630 or something. So that told the content group, like, hey, we don't need to get any bigger. We're only as wide as the things inside of us. And what I had to do is I had to tell it, no, doesn't matter how wide the things are inside of you. I want you to be 100% the width of this wrapper container, because you got to match it. And it was just doing its own thing. So that's how I solved that problem. I looked at the different, so if why was this shorter than this? And I looked at it, it actually was. So that should do that. So if we go to tablet, I should be able to with 100%. I think I gotta push this back. Width 67, margin left, image group. Yeah, I don't need this anymore. I don't need this. And on the wrapper, we're gonna have our flex none. There we go. So this is going to be for, oh yeah, that's right. We had to make this 60. This was 60. That should do it. That's three. This is 352 plus 120. That's 452. Let's do 57. 328 plus 120 is 448. Exactly what it should be, as is told at tablet. So now, when we grow this wide, it does what it's supposed to be doing. So what are you doing here? Okay, so that's the padding. Yep, I was growing with the padding. This stops right there. Yeah, it's working. It looks like it's centered. So let's see what happens when we add stats, and you see how it's responding. So when we add more stats, it stays here, it stays centered, and this space is still maintained because of the padding, because it pushes around. And let's say I added another paragraph text, and now this responds to it as well. So this is what I mean by 100% responsive design. It's not responding to just the screen size, but also the content inside of it. So you got to think about, okay, if I add another text block here, if I make a paragraph longer, how does the design around it respond to that? And is it taking that into account? And that's what we're doing here. The CS container, this box here, is a flexbox, and we're using flexbox's properties to let items stretch to fill their box. And that's what we're doing here. We have a line item stretch, and the height is auto on this picture group so that it will always be as tall as the parent, even though it is a relatively positioned element. And what's nice about what we did with the object fit cover is it doesn't matter how tall or short it is. If we remove these, the image that is inside of it, the object fit cover, makes it automatically resize and fit proportionally based on its aspect ratio and centered inside of its parent container. So no matter how tall or wide you make this, you do not have to worry about making exact crops every time so that it's perfect. This is more responsive. Like, we set the height and width on the image group itself, and we let the images adapt to that. That's being responsive. And now because we have this padding top and bottom creating this space to push against it, whenever we add stuff, it just pushes against the container. This thing is stretching tall to fill it no matter what. So that's how we have our responsive design. And this was a fun, frustrating little experiment. Yeah, that with 100% on the CS content, that trips me up a few times, and that's check that out. If you're running into problems like that, just experiment. Like, okay, this should be wider. Why is it not wider? It's going to happen a lot on your lists, like your ULs, because a lot of times they're not 100% width by default. They're just however wide they feel like they need to be based on the content. So a lot of times, just adding width 100% to some of these elements or element groups will fix some problems, surprisingly. And that's what happened here. I knew something was off. Something was afoot. And it was that with 100% that I missed. So that's how we solve problems. We just go through, start poking around, turning off elements in the inspector, adding styles in the inspector just to see how it responds and how it changes things. So it's a process. So now what is this? Is there anything else I want to do to this? I think that's it. So we made it small, we made it big, and we did all of this in just 2 media queries. I mean, that's usually where I try to aim. I try to get it done. Let's see, this is a side by side. There you go. So nice, easy video. Oh, never mind. It's not easy anymore. I gotta figure out what to do with this. Let me see. Which way are you aligned? Come back here. Yeah, you're aligned to the left. I'll let you slide. I think that looks fine. I think that's good. So there you have it. That's how we make responsive, hand-coded HTML and CSS templates. No AI crap here. Our stuff is made by people that can think through a problem and look at it visually and say, yeah, you know what, this isn't right. We got to do something. We got to fix this, and plan creatively how to use these CSS properties to fit these puzzle pieces that we made for this. Like we're essentially putting together a puzzle in which we figure out the pieces. And I think a human does better at figuring out how those pieces should fit, because it doesn't matter if they fit. It's also got to look good as they fit. And an AI is not going to look at this and say, oh, this should be a little more, this should be a little bigger, or yeah, we'll set this up, we'll make this a width 87% to get that visually close enough. Like, it's these little approximations and minute details that I just don't think AI can really give attention to right now, at least right now. So that's why I'm very, very proud and adamant of the fact that we don't use AI to make these things, because it can't. And I think that's why we're unique. I think that's why we are successful, and that's why we're able to keep doing what we're doing. So I hope you enjoyed this video and seeing how we go about these things behind the scenes when we build our stitches. And hopefully you learned a little something about how to make your own sections like this, and how to plan and fix problems, solve problems, and figure out how to arrange your stuff when you're putting together your plans for your HTML and CSS. So with that, I think this should only be like an hour and a half. I think we did pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna get cracking on some more. So keep enjoying Code Stitch, and I hope you enjoyed these videos. Thank you.